What's up, my wizards? Dev from SBMTG place down there. What I've got for you today, something pretty cool. A Oath of the Gatewatch, we'll say pre-release slash limited primer slash tutorial thing. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the colors and the colorless for the first time, and just sort of give you the standout cards in each color and sort of what I think some of the good strategies in this limited might be. I like to do this every pre-release. You know, it's really fun to delve into the limited format, a place that I really love to be, it turns out. I think that it rewards good deck building, and deck building is my favorite thing to do in all of Magic. So, as you can probably tell by looking at the channel. In any case, let's dive right in. Let me tell you how I feel about this limited. Well, first, I should start with a little general sealed format advice, since we're focusing on the pre-release, but we're also just talking about limited in general here for this format. But as far as pre-release goes, what's going to happen at this pre-release is that it's a sealed environment. You'll be given 6 packs in all, 4 packs of Oath of the Gatewatch, 2 packs of Battle for Zendikar. Open all of them up. You'll also be given a promo card at your pre-release. It's a foil rare of some kind. You never know what it's going to be. You know, that's exciting right there. You get a free rare. But open up all of your packs and basically build a deck of 40 cards out of that pool of cards you get from that pack. Again, rewards good sound deck building, and so let's talk a little bit about that. For the sealed environment, first of all, you're going to play anywhere between 17 and 19 lands in the deck. 17 if you're an aggressive, or 19 if you've got a lot of, in this format, huge Eldrazi. Anywhere between 17 and 19 lands. Also, have a good range of creatures, and your curve is very important, i.e. playing a 2-mana guy on turn 2, a 3-mana guy on turn 3, a 4-mana, and so on, so on. Curve is very important, and you don't want to backload your deck with just like 5, 6, 7 mana guys, which would be fairly easy to do in this format. But you still need to play a fair complement of 2 and 3 mana dudes, and not just start your curve at 4, because you're going to get steamrolled in a lot of games, you know, against players who more fill their curves out better. Non-creature spells are still very important, especially removal. Removal is always very important to remember in any limited environment. If you have good removal, or really any removal at all, you're going to make sure you play that. There are very few exceptions to that rule too. So mostly removal, solid guys with a good curve, and 17 to 18 lands is a good way to start. Before I move on, I want to talk a little bit about the concept of bread, which is something that longtime players are very familiar with. There are a lot of newer players and people that don't play limited very often and may have not have heard of this. Bread means bombs, removal, evasion, advantage, dudes. So, sometimes you hear break, which is bombs, removal, advantage, or evasion, advantage, crap. But I always go by the bread principle. You want to draft bombs, amazing cards first, and make them sort of auto-includes in your deck. They'll usually put you on color too. They determine what color you're playing if you get a bomby enough card. Removal, the second thing you need to worry about. Removal is always very important, especially in sealed, which is turtley, and the guys aren't the best. So taking out the best guy on the field with the unconditional removal is very powerful and limited. Evasion is creatures with things like flying and menace, mostly flying and unblockable creatures. Always very desirable to get combat damage through in limited, because board stalls, again, are a huge thing. Advantage is, hello Ziggy, advantage is drawing cards usually, or card selection. And then dudes is just guys that fill out your curves. It's always important to remember this basic principle of bread. A couple of things I want to mention about this limited real quick, this particular sealed environment. There's a new quote-unquote color. It's a color that's always been with us. Colorless or colorless matters, people are saying. There are plenty of cards in this set that you have to have specifically colorless mana in order to play or activate, once they're on the field. You can get this either by using wastes or creatures or other artifacts and things that tap for specifically colorless mana. Or just lands that tap just for colorless mana. There are plenty of ways in the sealed environment to do this, and I'd like to say, if you're playing 1 or 2 colorless cards, or cards that need colorless, or even more than that, because you definitely have a chance to, play at least 4, 5, maybe even 6 colorless sources if you can do it. And that of course includes the creatures and artifacts that tap for colorless. But try to include as many of these colorless sources as you can if you're including, say, 3 colorless cards. It'll be very tough to get those sources. The only other thing I really wanted to mention, I believe, is tap lands. You will get these tap lands in some of your packs here. Definitely play these if they're on color for you. There's nothing wrong with these. They're very important, it turns out. And things like Crumbling Vestige, Holdout Settlement, and Unknown Shores. All of these are very important lands for the limited environment because they not only help you splash other colors, but also facilitate the use of colorless cards. You can play expeditions if you get them. They're these things that have like funny borders and they're all shiny and they're weird looking, and you're like, oh, I've never heard of this. You can play these if you get them, but they're going to hold a lot of value, especially if you happen to pull a wasteland or say a forbidden orchard. They're going to hold a lot of value, so probably don't just trade those away for any darn thing, you know. You can play them, but you're probably also going to decrease the value slightly if you do so. So it's up to you, but you can. Well, now let's go into the colors here and just talk about what I think are the standout cards in each color. And I'll go ahead and set it up as a caveat. There are other cards in each of these colors that I could have brought up, but I don't think are quite on the level or quite could have made the list in times. I'm trying to make it like 20 minutes. We'll see if we do that or not. But in any case, we'll talk about white first. It's the first on the color wheel. The uncommons in white, and I'm going to talk about the uncommons and uncommons, by the way, because they'll make up most of what you get in your limited pool, and they're going to be what you sort of end up building your deck around. Sure, you'll build your deck around a rare, but these are going to be the meat and potatoes of the deck. So, as far as white goes, the good uncommons are obviously, get this out of the way, Wall of Resurgence. Crazy card. 9 toughness and 3 power for only 3 mana is really, really good. Really fantastic early game blocker, especially against the big creatures that are going to be ever present in this limited environment. So pick up Wall of Resurgence if you can, and if you end up with it in shield pool, definitely I would say play this if you're in white. It's not worth going directly into white for, but a good card. Relief Captain is another solid white uncommon, but again, not the best thing in the world. Relief Captain is like 6 power for 4 mana. That's pretty good, and is a decent body in and of itself. Again, it's not the best card ever, and it's not worth going into white just for the sake of playing it, but very solid white creature here. As far as the other stuff, I guess Immolating Glare is the only other uncommon that I really wanted to talk about here. Immolating Glare is just staple removal in this format, definitely. And I hope it ends up in standard. But definitely play Glare if you're in white. And this is almost a reason, if you get solid enough removal, it's usually a reason to trend that color or splash that color. I could see splashing white for Immolating Glare. As far as the commons go, I like Isolation Zone, obviously a great piece of removal in the format. Good card. 2 creatures I wanted to talk about, and they're fairly similar, are Core Scythe Master and Core Sky Climber. Both just really solid bread and butter, limited common creatures. And white has a few of those. You know, there's a Cleric that cohorts for, 2 life, something like that. That's not a bad card. There's a 1/3 flyer for 2 mana. You know, these are solid limited creatures. But I think these 2 core are cut above the rest as far as common creatures go. And then there's Searing Light, which I think is at least a 1 of if you get it, in your limited pool. I definitely think it's worth playing. And it will definitely come out of the side if you get multiple copies. I do think it's worth playing at least the 1 copy. White just has some pretty, again, bread and butter is the term I'll use, commons, but nothing that really, really stands out to me or that will just outright win you the game. Here's blue. Now blue only has like 1 uncommon I really want to touch on, but it has a lot of very playable commons. So let's launch into that. As far as the uncommon, Cyclone Sire immediately catches my attention as a solid limited card. This just seems to me to be very, very good. A replacement effect. It flies, has decent toughness too. Everything about the card looks good to me. Replacement effects are always awesome. Flying creatures are good. So Cyclone Sire is a real standout as far as the uncommons in blue go. But I'm just going to go straight into the commons because I didn't see too much else. Maybe, what is it? I don't know if it's like Royal's Grasp, something like that. That almost made the list. I'll put it right there. But not quite. As far as the commons go, we got a lot of playable stuff. Jwar Isle Avenger is something that's getting a lot of attention from people that are evaluating the limited format. Definitely seems more than solid to me. Very, very good surge creature there. Sweep Away has options on it. You can either save one of your guys, or you can tempo one of their dudes, put it on top, if it's attacking. So there's a lot of things to like about the card. Pseudo removal, like it at instant speed. It's a good piece. Cultivator Drone is a creature that taps for colorless. That's always good. It sucks you can only use the colorless for colorless stuff, but still, fine creature. I like the creatures that tap. For colorless. Gravity Negator looks very, very solid. There was a Soulbond creature in the Innistrad format that gave, another creature flying. That was very, very much. That was played a lot. Very good card. This reminds me of that and is a 2-power flyer in and of itself. So I like a lot of things about this card. Seems very solid, especially for a common to me. Blinding Drone also seems good. I like 2 mana 1/3s and I like tap abilities, but you have to be supported in colorless for it, obviously. Something people are talking about, I want to mention at least, is slip through space. I'm not actually sure about the limited playability of this unless you're drafting or building in sealed the Surge deck. Aside from that, getting one guy through is not great, although drawing a card can be. But I'm just not, it'll have to be worth the slot above better, more solid creatures and things like that. I think slip through space is okay, but it's more standard playable than sealed playable. Let me know if I'm wrong on that, people. Overall, blue is blue. It's got some tempo effects and it's got some dudes that fly. Blue is a very good support color, and its rares are more than fine, I would say. Although Oath of Jace isn't ideal, but the Sphinx is pretty good, and there's a couple of other things, especially its Eldrazi rare. That thing is very, very playable. But moreover, blue is kind of a support color, as it usually is. Nothing really, really stands out as far as this is going to win you the game right now, other than Sphinx, but rares are always like that. So I like blue, but I've done some sealed simulators and it hasn't really been a standout color for me. Up next is black, and this is the color I think that stands out the most in this limited environment. Very, very good color with lots of solid removal. Grasp of Darkness is an amazing removal piece at uncommon. You'll play as many of these as you get. You'll probably only get one or two. In sealed, if you get two, pat yourself on the back. Definitely play all of this. One of the strongest cards in the entire format. Limited format. Flame Tendrils is also a great uncommon in black. Just mass removal is always good, and it exiles the creatures. Essence Depleter actually looks really, really good to me. Again, you'll get packs of BFZ, so you can draft the black-white, life gain matters deck, and something like this really works in there. Even if you're not doing that, amazing mana sink that blocks well. That seems good to me. Visions of Brutality is pseudo removal. I can see playing that as well, sort of a pacifism type effect. Zulaport Chain Mage is a fine card as well, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. Just a lot of cohort effects in black are very, very good, especially the rare card with cohort in black is awesome. Play that if you get it. As far as the other commons go here, Vampire Envoy, somebody brought this up in the comments section. It enables cohort really well and blocks well. That's awesome. That is very true. And flies is an ally. Lots of good things about cohort. As far as the synergies in the format. Tar Snare is just an insane piece of removal at the common level. It's not unconditional, but very good. And then Kozilek Shrieker, super solid creature that can gain a pseudo evasion if you're able to pump mana into it. Oblivion Strike is, unconditional removal. You'll definitely play that card. That's something like 11 or 12 cards that I've brought up here, where in other colors I haven't brought up near that many. So I think black is a very standout color in this sealed. Red, not so much, although red has some decent stuff, especially at the uncommon level in Embodiment of Fury, which I think is definitely good in draft for the landfall deck. But again, you'll get BFZ stuff in sealed. If you can draft, or if you can put together the landfall deck, this goes pretty darn well in it. I think it's a pretty solid creature in all other respects too. Goblin Bushwhacker is also a very desirable uncommon to play. I like a lot about this, but it's better in standard environments, I would say, although it's pretty easy to set up to where you can alpha strike or something with it. I could see that. There are other decent uncommons. Devour in Flames is probably the only other one I want to talk about, though. This is almost unconditional removal, kills 85% of the things in the format. Even though we have a bunch of Eldrazi, still going to kill a lot of things, and can enable landfall strategies in limited too. That's good. As far as the commons go, I think Cinder Hellion is at least solid and passable. I think it's a decent card. Boulder Salvo is a good piece of removal. Reality Hemorrhage, ditto, the same thing, good piece of removal. And then the best red common I can look at as far as creatures go is Zada's Commando. I really, really like this card. Provides long game advantage if that's what you need it for, but is a 2-mana 2/1. We call them bears, so those are playable. And on top of that, it has First Strike. There's a lot of 3-mana 2/3s, but there's also a large contingent of 3-mana 3/2s. In this format. So something like this can be really, really good. A 2-power First Strike is awesome. All over, I think red is just not a very inspiring color in this limited, but it does get some decent removal pieces. That's always good. And some pretty low-to-the-ground creatures. If you're drafting an aggressive strategy, red is definitely where you want to go, as usual. But red is pretty low to the ground in this format compared to the other colors. So I could definitely see, trying something with it. Especially the blue-red Surge thing. You get to play a lot of flyers, a lot of fast creatures, and a lot of removal. So, maybe. But red doesn't look particularly great to me. And finally, here's green. It's probably running fairly long here. I'm sorry about that. Green is, I think, a very good color in this limited environment because it's got a lot of good commons and such. A lot of people aren't totally inspired by green in this set, but I think it's much better than it was in BFZ, first of all. BFZ green was not great. But in this set, we've got some good stuff as far as uncommons go. Embodiment of Insight is a very playable card, I would say. Also in those draft landfall decks, very, very good. Enabling you to tap lands and attack with them in the same turn. That's good. Attack and then tap. Seed Guardian is really, really, really good value. I like a lot about this card. Even if you get a smaller creature than Seed Guardian, you still just block twice. It's not bad. Seed Guardian seems good. Nissa's Judgment is one of the only, non-creature cards that I think is of any consequence. But it's a good green removal piece, just a sort of dog pile, which is good, especially if you're playing like in the support mechanics. Very, very good. Let's see, what other uncommons? Yeah, Birthing Hulk, I think, is the only other uncommon I really wanted to talk about. Birthing Hulk seems very solid to me, although for 7 mana there are probably other options. But Birthing Hulk is good in that its Scion tokens enable its regeneration. And regeneration is a very good ability in Sealed. I actually really like Baloth Pup. I like a lot about this card. 3/1 with upside for 2 mana is always playable. You can trade up a lot, which means trading for a drop that's higher than this. Trade this with a 3 or 4 drop. That's always good. Canopy Gorger, I think is very solid just because it's common. You'll get 1 or 2 of these, and it's a big guy that can compete with some of the Eldrazi, or just win the game outright. Elemental Uprising is another non-creature card that I really, really like. Could serve as pseudo removal in the early game. I like that about it. Loam Larva, very solid creature, enabling a 3-drop if you don't draw a 3rd land in your opening hand. I think that's actually really important. You get 2 lands in a Loam Larva, you can probably play off of that. I like that a lot. Netcaster Spider, another super solid creature. These spiders with reach and limited are always good to play for the most part. They're mostly solid, and this is no difference. Tajuru Pathfinder, again, very solid creature with a couple of abilities, and 5 power, all for 5 mana, and it's splashable. I like a lot about that. What else? Stalking Drone is the last thing I want to talk about, actually. Stalking Drone is just a very good bear that you can make bigger, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that in aggressive strategies, this is a very good limited card. All in all, I think that green has a lot of amazing common creatures that you can do a lot of work with. I think black-green is probably a good combination. I know that red-green is okay, because, red has a lot of decent removal and fast creatures. You fill out the rest of your curve with green stuff. So that's worked pretty well so far. Overall, I don't know how I'd rank the colors, but black is definitely #1. I'd probably go, and this is controversial, but I'd probably go black, green, blue, white, red. I'd probably do that. Black, green, blue, white, and then red for this set. But depends on what pool you get. Bad pools happen, and great pools with weak colors also happen, depending on what rares you get. But I wouldn't get a great rare in like red and get no other supported red and try to force that, unless you can splash it. Whew, that's pretty much all I've got for the limited primer here. That was a lot of cards, and I went super fast, and I apologize for that. But it's pretty much how I feel about this limited environment. One more thing before you go into the pre-release. I don't usually pimp other channels' videos, but MTG Degree has a very, very good video along these same lines that I've done mine on this topic. And we do differ on a few different things. He's not as into green as I am. And there are a couple of other white cards he likes more than me. I mean, we definitely differ on some points, but he's got a good video up too. So I suggest checking that out. He didn't ask me to do this. I don't know the guys. I just liked his video, and I think it's very informative. I want you to check it out. So I'm Dev from SBMTG. Deck Tech's coming up very, very soon here. I hope you guys have a good pre-release. I will see you later. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And thanks for watching, my wizards.